Hello and welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In today's video, we will be discussing about recent Supreme Court ruling, which has come on 5th of April, in which it has said that right against adverse impact of climate change is also a fundamental right. So what is the backing to this decision of Supreme Court? It was discussing about one of the cases wherein heavy electrical equipments, heavy electrical lines should be laid down in those areas which have Great Indian Bustard or lesser floricans. Now you need to tell me in writing down in comment box what is the IUCN status of both of them. Okay? So Supreme Court's ruling on right against adverse effect of climate change, what has it said in this ruling? Supreme Court has said that if we need to ensure right to health as well as right to healthy environment, which is imperative under Article 21, we also need to ensure that right against adverse effect of climate change, it is also a distinct right within Article 21. Supreme Court also said that Article 14, which talks about right to equality, if the government has to ensure, if the constitution has to ensure that right to equality is maintained for every individual in the country, we need to maintain that right against adverse effect of climate change as a separate fundamental right. Okay? So Supreme Court, what it was saying, Article 14 is not being implemented properly. We are not able to ensure right to equality because poorer communities are suffering because of changing climatic conditions much more than richer communities. Richer communities do have the option of technology to saving them, to protect themselves from the changing climatic conditions. They have artificial cooling equipments or an AC, air conditioner to cool the areas in which they are living. But this such option is not present for a poorer community or for tribal communities or for women or children, which are much more vulnerable to the changing climatic conditions. Okay? So Supreme Court said that if we have to ensure Article 14 and 21, we need to ensure that there are certain communities which have to be better access to technology, or the climate change itself government needs to take steps such that climate change does not take place. Okay? So these are the rulings against the adverse effect of climate change. Now, what is the significance of this ruling? First and foremost is that it will reiterate India's commitment to climate justice. So we have submitted some of the INDC's, intended nationally determined contributions in Paris Climate Deal, commonly known as the Paris Deal. But apart from this, India has also submitted long-term low emission development strategies, LT-LEDs, in Sharm el-Sheikh. So these are our goals, our promises to the international world, that these are our efforts such that climate change can be mitigated, or our adaptation measures. So these are our adaptation measures. These are international promises that India has made, which will be better implemented if right against adverse impact of climate change can be ensured. Plus, it is also very important because it will nudge the parliament to enact legislations in conservation of environment. Now, because Supreme Court has said that this is the fundamental right of people, so if you have to ensure the fundamental right to live in a healthy environment, you need to enact such legislations which will conserve environment, or such legislations which will be discouraged that the environment is not damaged. It also opens the door of constitutional courts. Constitutional courts matlab Supreme Court, District Court as well as High Court for environmental jurisprudence. Till now, it was under the purview of National Green Tribunal only. National Green Tribunal को एक statutory backing है through NGT Act. But now the constitutional judicial bodies will have the power to enact environmental legislations, and that is why it sets up a significant legal precedent. Now courts will be taking decisions on environmental jurisprudence. So this is the significance. Now Supreme Court was discussing about some of the vulnerable communities jinko ki Article 14 we are not able to ensure. We are not able to ensure right to equality. But Supreme Court in the same decision, in the same case, was also discussing about some of the vulnerabilities that India will be facing or has been facing because of the changing climatic conditions. Some of these vulnerabilities include increased occurrence of glacial lake outburst flood. GLOF is a condition wherein glacier feeds up a lake ठीक है, a water body has been fed by the melting of glacier and this water body has a barrier at the end. This barrier falls off because of the continuous input being granted by the glacier. So if this lake overfloods and this barrier is called off, then this entire water body will move down towards the lower riparian areas and cause flooding. ठीक है, this is known as a glacial lake outburst flood which did occur in Sikkim in 2023. ठीक है, so we do have experiences of GLOF, we do have experiences of cloud burst, we do have increased occurrence of flood. Again, increased occurrence of flood can take place because of the same reason कि Himalayan glaciers are melting, so they will be adding more water to the rivers. Plus, the rivers will also now be carrying more amount of sediments. If the volume of water plus the volume of sediments increases, so then it will exert more and more pressure in lower riparian areas which can cause flooding. ठीक है? Plus simultaneous occurrence of flood and drought. Now, we have the upcoming months of June. In the month of June, we will be witnessing rainfall, monsoonal rainfall taking place in southern areas, southern Indian states. So that will lead to floods in areas such as Mumbai, ठीक है? और 2023 में Bangalore also did face floods. So simultaneous occurrence of flood in the month of June because they have been experienced or they will be experiencing monsoon, whereas droughts taking place in most part of North India because June is considered to be the peaking summers for North India. So some of the districts in UP, in MP, in Maharashtra, they will all be suffering from droughts, whereas the South Indian states will be suffering from floods. ठीक है, plus vulnerabilities of the coastal communities because the coastal areas are losing out on their land because of the rising sea level. So the coastal communities, fishermen communities and the communities who are living on the coastal areas will be much more vulnerable to the changing climatic conditions. Plus food security challenge. So we did experience 2023 May India stopped or banned export of wheat. That was because of the changing climatic conditions which reduced the production of wheat. So as to ensure that there should not be a shortage of availability of wheat, we did ban the export. ठीक है? Plus the occurrences of heat waves during the summer seasons. So this will be a continuation of El Nino this summer season also, and we will be experiencing more occurrences of heat waves. ठीक है? So these are some of the vulnerabilities that India faces or will be facing, has faced in all these years of changing climatic conditions. What were the previous SC rulings? Supreme Court के previous rulings में in terms of environmental jurisprudence, what has been the history? One case it was dealing with was MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath in 2000. ठीक है? MC Mehta versus Kamal Nath in 2000. In this case, Supreme Court discussed कि Article 21 में we have given the right to live in a healthy environment, and if you have given to your people right to live in a healthy environment, you also need to ensure that the climate change should not occur or there should be minimal change in climatic conditions. Plus, Virender Gaur versus State of Haryana mein it was said that it is the imperative duty of the central government, the state government and the local government to take measures for the conservation of environment. But apart from this, there were other cases also wherein Supreme Court took a note of the changing climatic conditions and the rising sea levels, global rise in sea temperature, global rise in temperature, as well as stating these facts that climate change posed a major threat to environment. So this has been the previous Supreme Court's ruling. If you are writing answer related to Supreme Court's interference into environmental jurisprudence, so we can write the way forward now like this. Now it should be included in it demands that political manifesto mein, elections ke manifesto mein, politicians or the groups need to add environmental legislation or environmental promises. ठीक है? Inclusion in political manifesto is the demand of the hour. ठीक है? Plus rights of CPCB, SPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, State Pollution Control Board or National Green Tribunal needs to be expanded. ठीक है? It needs to be strengthened. ठीक है? Plus, we also need an umbrella legislation with respect to wildlife as well as environment. So, wildlife ke liye we had Wildlife Protection Act of 1972, which was later amended in 2002 and most recently in 2022 also. Environment Protection Act, we still follow 1986 ka act. ठीक है? So, we are in need for an umbrella legislation which can deal with wildlife as well as environment because both of them are heavily interconnected. And lastly, we are also in need of an interministerial coordination. interministerial coordination for better implementation of environmental laws. Let's say Environment Ministry has made certain decisions, but Ministry of Industries or Ministry of Mines have taken an opposite decision. So they need to come in coordination with each other, right? So we are in need of an interministerial coordination. Recently there has been an act which has been passed by the name Jan Vishwas Act. Jan Vishwas Act has been passed to improve the ease of doing business. And what have they done is they have weakened the role of Central Pollution Control Board and State Pollution Control Board, and plus they have replaced the jail term with fines. So now it is very easy for industrialists to pay fine and escape the jail term, harsher punishments. Okay? So we need to discourage all such kinds of act. That is what Supreme Court has made in its statement. Now with that we come to this end of this video. I wish you all the very best and thank you so much.